The autumn rain tapped against the windows of Winter's gallery like tiny fingers knocking for entry. Sophia Winters stood among her carefully curated collection of contemporary art, each piece telling a story of passion and creativity. But today, the only story that mattered was written in red ink across her financial statements. Sophia's fingers trembled as she held the foreclosure notice. 3 months. That's all the time she had left before losing everything her family had, built over to generations. The gallery had been her grandfather's dream, passed down to her father, and now it was slipping through her fingers like sand. The bell above the door chimed, and Sophia quickly wiped her eyes, forcing a professional smile. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit entered, his dark hair perfectly styled and his sharp blue eyes scanning the gallery with calculated precision. Everything about him screamed wealth and power. "Ms. Winters?" His voice was deep and commanding. "I'm Damien Cross." Sophia's breath caught. Everyone in the city knew that name. Cross Technologies had revolutionized the tech industry, and its 32-year-old CEO was worth billions. But what was he doing in her struggling gallery? "Mr. Cross, what an unexpected honor. Are you interested in any particular piece?" Gestured toward her collection, hoping her voice didn't betray her desperation. Damien's lips curved into a slight smile. "Actually, I'm interested in you." An unusual proposition. Sophia's heart skipped a beat, but Damien quickly clarified. "I have a business proposition that could solve both our problems." He pulled out a folder from his briefcase and set it on her antique desk. "I know about your financial situation, Ms. Winters. The gallery is facing foreclosure, and you need a miracle." Heat flushed Sophia's cheeks. "I don't know what you think you know, but I also know you graduated summa cum laude from Yale with degrees in art history and business. You speak 4 languages fluently and come from old Connecticut money, even though your family lost most of it during the recession." Damien's research was thorough and intimidating. Sophia crossed her arms defensively. "What do you want, Mr. Cross? I need a fiancé." The words hung in the air like a challenge, not a real one, a fake one. For 6 months, Sophia laughed despite herself. "This sounds like something out of a romance novel. My grandmother controls the family trust that funds Cross Technologies. She's threatening to withhold crucial investments unless I settle down and get married. She believes I'm too focused on work and need stability in my personal life." Damien's jaw tightened. "I need someone sophisticated, well-educated, and believable. As my partner, someone who won't fall for me or complicate things with actual feelings, and you think I fit that description?" Sophia raised an eyebrow. "You're beautiful, intelligent, and most importantly, you need the money badly enough to make this work." The contract. Sophia stared at the contract Damien placed before her. The sum he was offering would not only save her gallery, but provide enough capital to expand and thrive for years to come. 6 months of public appearances as my fiancé. You'll move into my penthouse, attend social functions, and convince my grandmother and the board that we're genuinely in love. In return, you get $5 million in complete ownership of this building." Sophia's hands shook as she read. The terms, it was more money than she'd ever dreamed of. But the personal cost felt enormous. What about dating? Relationships? My actual life? No other romantic relationships during the contract period will need to be convincing. Damien's businesslike tone made it sound simple, but Sophia sensed complications lurking beneath the surface. Why me specifically? Surely there are socialites who would jump at this opportunity. Damien's expression softened slightly, because you have something they don't. Authenticity. When I researched you, I found someone who genuinely cares about art, about preserving culture, about building something meaningful. My grandmother will see that. Sophia looked around her gallery one last time as an independent woman. Tomorrow, if she signed this contract, everything would change. "I need one condition added," she said firmly. "This remains purely business. No actual romantic involvement." Damien extended his hand. "Deal, Ms. Winters, or should I say, my beloved fiancé." The first performance 3 days later. Sophia found herself in a designer gown, worth more than her monthly rent, standing beside Damien at the Metropolitan Museum's annual charity auction. The emerald silk dress hugged her curves perfectly, and the borrowed diamonds at her throat caught the light with every breath. "Remember," Damien whispered near her ear, his warm breath sending unexpected shivers down her spine. "We've been secretly dating for 8 months. Fell in love when you consulted on the art collection for Cross Technology's new headquarters." Sophia nodded, trying to ignore how natural his hand felt at the small of her back. "And you proposed last weekend during a private dinner at your estate in the Hamptons." "Perfect." "Oh," and smile. "Victoria Sterling is watching us from across the room." Sophia followed his gaze to a stunning blonde woman in a red dress who was indeed staring at them with obvious interest.
Ow.
Victoria Sterling owned Sterling Industries, Cross Technology's biggest competitor, and the rivalry between her and Damien was legendary in business circles. "She looks like she wants to eat me alive," Sophia murmured. "Victoria has been trying to find a weakness in my armor for years. She's probably furious that I found someone before she could use my bachelor status against me in business deals." As they moved through the crowd, Sophia was amazed at how naturally she and Damien fell into the role of an engaged couple. He was attentive without being possessive, charming without being fake. When he introduced her to influential gallery owners and art collectors, he spoke of her expertise with genuine respect. "Sophia has an incredible eye for emerging artists," Damien told Margaret Whitmore, the city's most influential art patron. "She discovered 3 artists who are now showing in major museums worldwide." The pride in his voice sounded so real that Sophia almost believed it herself. Unexpected chemistry as the evening progressed. Sophia found herself genuinely enjoying Damien's company. He was intelligent and well-read, with surprising knowledge about art and culture. When they danced, his strong arms held her with just the right amount of closeness to appear romantic while respecting her boundaries. "You're a good actor," Sophia said as they swayed to the orchestra's music. "So are you. Though I have to admit, this feels less like acting than I expected." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the pretense fell away. There was something electric in the air between them, something that made Sophia's heart race and her cheeks flush. The spell was broken when Victoria Sterling approached them during a break in the music. "Damien, darling." Victoria's voice was honey-laced with poison. "You simply must introduce me to your mysterious fiancée. The whole city is buzzing about her." "Victoria, this is Sophia Winters." "Sophia, Victoria Sterling." Victoria's handshake was firm and calculating. "Winters. That name sounds familiar. Didn't your family lose their fortune in some scandal years ago?" Sophia felt Damien tense beside her, but she maintained her composure. "My family has always valued art and culture over accumulating wealth, Miss Sterling. Some might call that a different kind of fortune." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How refreshing. And how convenient that you found love with someone who could restore your family's financial standing." The insult was delivered with surgical precision, but before Sophia could respond, Damien stepped forward. "Sophia doesn't need anyone to restore anything, Victoria. She's built something beautiful entirely on her own merit. Something you might understand if you valued anything beyond profit margins." The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Victoria's mask of politeness slipped for just a moment, revealing the calculating predator beneath. "Ow! Romantic." "I do hope this fairy tale has a happy ending, Sophia. Damien's previous relationships have been so disappointingly brief." With that parting shot, Victoria glided away, leaving Sophia shaken and Damien visibly angry. "Don't let her get to you," Damien said quietly. "Victoria attacks anything she perceives as a threat. Am I a threat to her?" Damien's gaze was intense as he looked down at her. "After tonight, I think you might be a threat to more people than just Victoria Sterling." As they left the auction together, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The chemistry between them felt dangerous, threatening to turn their business arrangement into something much more complicated. But when Damien helped her into his car, his fingers lingering on hers just a moment too long, Sophia realized that the most dangerous part wasn't Victoria Sterling's threats or the public scrutiny. The most dangerous part was how much she was starting to enjoy being Damien Cross's fake fiancé, and how real her feelings were beginning to feel. The penthouse elevator climbed silently to the 68th floor. Sophia gripped her single suitcase tighter with each passing second. Moving in with Damien felt like stepping into another universe, one where everything gleamed with luxury and purpose. When the doors opened, Sophia gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the entire city sprawling below them like a glittering carpet. The living space was modern and masculine, with clean lines and expensive art adorning the walls. "Your room is down this hall," Damien said, leading her past a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a cooking magazine. "You'll have complete privacy. I'm usually at the office before 7 and rarely home before 9. The guest suite was larger than Sophia's entire apartment. A king-sized bed sat beneath windows overlooking Central Park, and the attached bathroom featured a soaking tub that could fit 3 people. "This is incredible," Sophia breathed, setting her suitcase on the plush carpet. "I'm glad you approve. We'll need to go shopping tomorrow for appropriate clothing. My grandmother is expecting us for dinner Sunday, and she has very specific expectations about appearances." The mention of meeting his family sent butterflies through Sophia's stomach. "Tell me about her." Damien's expression grew complicated. "Eleanor Cross built the family fortune from nothing after my grandfather died young. She's brilliant, ruthless, and has an uncanny ability to see through deception. If anyone can expose our arrangement, it's her. And if she does, then I lose everything I've worked for, and you lose your payment." His tone was matter-of-fact, but Sophia detected underlying tension. No pressure at all. That evening, they practiced their story over takeout Chinese food. Sitting cross-legged on his expensive sofa, sharing lo mein straight from the container, felt surprisingly intimate and normal. "How did we meet again?" Sophia asked, twirling noodles around her chopsticks. "You were consulting on the art collection for our new headquarters? I found you arguing with the interior designer about the placement of a Rothko, and you were immediately smitten by my passionate defense of proper lighting for abstract expressionism." Damien laughed, a rich sound that made Sophia's chest warm. "Something like that, though I have to admit, watching you get worked up about art is actually quite attractive." Their eyes met across the coffee table, and the air between them crackled with electricity. Sophia looked away first, reminding herself this was just practice. But it was getting harder to remember what was real and what was performance. The family. Tess Eleanor Cross lived in a mansion on Fifth Avenue that felt like stepping into a museum. Portraits of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, and every surface gleamed with antiques worth more than most people's houses. Sophia wore a navy dress that Damien's stylist had selected. Conservative but elegant. Her engagement ring, a stunning 5-carat diamond that was unfortunately fake, caught the light as she nervously smoothed her skirt. "Remember?" Damien whispered as they waited in the foyer. "She'd try to separate us and ask probing questions. Stay calm and stick to our story." The woman who swept into the room looked nothing like Sophia had expected. Eleanor Cross was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, with silver hair pulled into an elegant chignon. But her dark eyes were sharp as razors, and her presence commanded immediate respect. "Damien, darling." She embraced her grandson with genuine affection before turning those penetrating eyes on Sophia. "This must be the young woman who's captured my grandson's heart. Mrs. Cross, it's an honor to meet you." Sophia offered her hand, which Eleanor took in both of hers. "Please, call me Eleanor. We're family now, after all." Her smile was warm, but Sophia felt like she was being evaluated by a master chess player. "Tell me, dear, what do you love most about Damien?" The question was direct and immediate, designed to catch Sophia off guard. But as she looked at Damien, standing nervously beside his grandmother, she found the answer came easily. "It's passion," Sophia said honestly. "When Damien talks about something he cares about, whether it's his company or a piece of art, his whole face lights up. He has this incredible ability to see potential where others see problems." Eleanor's eyebrows rose slightly, and she glanced at her grandson with something that might have been surprise. Dinner wasn't elaborate, fare served in a dining room that could seat 20. Eleanor grilled Sophia about her background, her education, and her goals with the precision of a prosecutor. But instead of feeling attacked, Sophia found herself genuinely enjoying the conversation. Your gallery focuses on emerging artists, Eleanor observed over the main course. That's risky in today's market. Art has never been about playing it safe, Sophia replied. The pieces that move us, that change how we see the world, usually come from artists who are willing to take risks. I'd rather support one brilliant, unknown than sell a dozen safe reproductions. Eleanor nodded approvingly, spoken like someone who truly understands the value of art beyond its price tag. After dinner, Eleanor insisted on showing Sophia her private collection. They walked through rooms filled with priceless paintings and sculptures, while Damien trailed behind, looking increasingly relaxed. This Monet was purchased by my late husband on our honeymoon in France, Eleanor said, stopping before a stunning water lily painting. He was a romantic fool, spending our entire travel budget on art. But looking at it now, 50 years later, I realize it was the wisest investment he ever made. Because of its value? Sophia asked. Because of what it represents. Love, beauty, the belief that some things matter more than money. Eleanor's eyes softened. Tell me, child, do you believe in love at first sight? The question hung in the air. Sophia glanced at Damien, who was watching her intently. I believe in connection at first sight, Sophia said carefully. That moment when you meet someone and feel like you've been waiting for them without knowing it. Eleanor smiled, the first genuinely warm expression she'd shown all evening. Yes, that's exactly right. As they prepared to leave, Eleanor pulled Damien aside while Sophia waited in the foyer. Through the open door, she could hear the older woman's voice. She's not what I expected, Damien. What did you expect? Someone calculating? Saw dollar signs when she looked at you. But that girl looks at you like you hung the moon. There was a pause. Don't hurt her, darling. She's rarer than you know. In the car afterward, they rode in comfortable silence for several blocks before Damien spoke. You were amazing tonight. I think you charmed her completely. She's wonderful. Intimidating, but wonderful. Sophia turned to look at him. Why didn't you warn me she was actually nice? Because I wasn't sure she would be. Eleanor can be difficult when she thinks someone is trying to take advantage of the family, but she didn't think that about me. Hands tightened on the steering wheel. No, she thinks you're in love with me. The words settled between them like a challenge neither was ready to accept. The weekend getaway, 2 weeks later. Damien announced they needed to spend a weekend at his estate in the Hamptons for a charity event. The house was a sprawling beachfront. Property that looked like something from a magazine cover. We'll have separate rooms, of course, Damien said as they arrived Friday evening. But people will expect us to seem comfortable together as a couple. The charity polo match was Saturday afternoon, and Sophia found herself genuinely enjoying the sport and the company. Damien looked devastatingly handsome in his polo whites, and when he scored the winning goal, she cheered without thinking. He rode over to the fence where she stood with the other spectators and leaned down to kiss her cheek. It was meant to be a show for the crowd, but when his lips brushed her skin, Sophia felt electricity shoot through her entire body. Good game, she managed to say, her voice slightly breathless. A good luck charm, he replied, his eyes holding hers for a moment too long. That evening, they walked on the beach after the formal dinner. The moon was full, casting silver light across the waves, and Sophia had abandoned her heels to walk barefoot in the sand. This is beautiful, she said, breathing in the salt air. I used to come here as a kid when things got overwhelming, Damien. Said my parents fought a lot before they divorced. The ocean was the only thing that felt peaceful, was the first truly personal thing he'd shared with her, and Sophia treasured it. Do you ever think about what you'd do if you weren't a CEO? She asked. Damien was quiet for a long moment. I used to want to be an architect. I loved the idea of creating something permanent, something beautiful that would outlast me. What changed? Responsibility? Expectations. The family business needed someone to run it, and I was the heir. He stopped walking and turned to face her. What about you? Money wasn't an issue. What would you do? Exactly what I'm doing. Maybe on a larger scale, with more resources to help struggling artists. But art has always been my passion, even if it meant never being wealthy. Especially, then, The best art comes from hunger, from need, from the desire to say something important. Sophia smiled. Though I have to admit, not worrying about rent is nice too. They laughed together, and somehow Damien's hand found hers. They walked back to the house, in comfortable silence, fingers intertwined, both pretending it was still just for show. Sunday morning brought an unexpected crisis. James Morrison, an investigative journalist known for exposing celebrity scandals, had somehow gotten Damien's private number. "Mr. Cross, I'm working on a story about you and Ms. Winters. I've spoken to several sources who claim your engagement is a business arrangement. Would you care to comment?" Damien's face went pale as he ended the call. "We have a problem." "How bad?" Sophia asked, though his expression already told her. "Morrison is thorough and relentless. If he's asking questions, he already has some answers." Damien ran his hands through his hair. "Need to be more convincing, more publicly affectionate." That afternoon, at a gallery opening in Manhattan, they put on their most convincing performance yet. Damien kept his arm around Sophia's waist, whispered in her ear, and gazed at her with apparent adoration. When a photographer asked them to pose, Damien pulled her close and kissed her temple. But every touch felt electric. Every staged moment of affection sent heat coursing through Sophia's veins. She was falling for him, and she could see in his eyes that he was struggling with the same feelings. The dangerous part wasn't Morrison's investigation or Eleanor's scrutiny, or even Victoria Sterling's schemes. The dangerous part was that their fake engagement was starting to feel like the most real thing in either of their lives. As they left the gallery that night, Victoria Sterling appeared as if from nowhere. "Such a touching display," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I do hope James Morrison captures it accurately in his upcoming article." The threat was clear. Victoria was feeding information to the journalist, and she wasn't going to stop until she destroyed them both. But as Damien's hand tightened protectively around Sophia's, she realized something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. She no longer cared about the money or the contract she was in love with. Damien Cross. And that changed everything. Sophia woke to her phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. Through sleepy eyes, she saw dozens of missed calls and text messages. Her stomach dropped as she opened the first message from her assistant at the gallery. "Have you seen the news? Call me immediately." With trembling fingers, Sophia opened her laptop. The headline hit her like a physical blow. Tech billionaire's fake fiancé exposed. The $5 million lie. James Morrison's article was devastating in its thoroughness. I had documented their entire arrangement from Sophia's financial troubles to the exact terms of their contract. Somehow, he'd gotten hold of bank records, legal documents, and quotes from anonymous sources within Cross Technologies. The worst part was a grainy photo of Sophia signing papers in Damien's office. The caption, "The moment Sophia Winters sold her soul for $5 million. Her phone rang. Damien's name flashed on the screen. "Sophia, don't leave the penthouse. Building is surrounded by reporters." "How did this happen?" Her voice came out as a whisper. "Someone inside my company leaked the contract. I'm having my security team investigate, but the damage is already done." His voice was tight with controlled anger. "The board is calling. An emergency meeting? They want answers." Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Sophia could see news vans gathering on the street below like vultures. Her phone buzzed with calls from reporters, friends, and strangers who'd somehow gotten her number. "What do we do now?" "I don't know," Damien admitted, and those 3 words scared her more than anything else. "But I'm not going to let them destroy you. This is my fault." Before Sophia could respond, she heard voices in the background of his. "Call Mr. Cross. The board is ready for you," someone announced. "I have to go. Stay inside. Stay safe. I'll fix this." The line went dead, leaving Sophia alone with the wreckage of their beautiful lie. Eleanor's revelation. An hour later, the penthouse elevator chimed. Sophia expected to see Damien, but instead, Eleanor Cross stepped out, looking like a tiny general, preparing for battle. "Good morning, dear. I thought you might need some company, Mrs. Cross. I'm so sorry. This must be humiliating for your family." Eleanor held up a hand, silencing her. May I have some tea? We need to talk. They sat in Damien's living room, while the media circus continued outside. Eleanor sipped her tea calmly, as if the world wasn't falling apart around them. Tell me something, Sophia. Setting aside the contract and the money, how do you feel about my grandson? The question was so direct, so unexpected, that Sophia's careful defenses crumbled. I love him, she whispered, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. I know that wasn't supposed to happen, but I can't help it. I love his brilliant mind, his dry humor, the way he gets excited about new ideas. I love how he treats his employees with respect, and how he still calls you every Sunday just to check in. Eleanor nodded, as if this confirmed something she already knew. And do you believe he loves you? It doesn't matter. He hired me to solve a problem, not to fall in love. I've ruined everything by letting my feelings get involved. Eleanor set down her teacup with a decisive clink. Child, there's something you need to know about this inheritance situation. Sophia looked up confused. Damien believes I'm forcing him to marry to access the family trust. But the truth is, he's had full control of that money since his 25th birthday. I've been pretending to withhold it because I was worried about him. Worried how? He was becoming cold, isolated, treating relationships like business transactions. I thought if I'd pushed him toward marriage, he might open his heart to someone. Eleanor's eyes twinkled with mischief. Never expected him to try to fake it. The revelation hit Sophia like lightning. You mean he didn't need to do any of this? No. Financially, no. But emotionally. I think he needed it more than he realized. Eleanor leaned forward. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Before Sophia could answer, the elevator chimed again. This time it was Damien, looking haggard and defeated. He stopped short when he saw his grandmother. Eleanor, what are you doing here? Having tea with my future granddaughter-in-law, she said matter-of-factly. There's no future anything, Damien said bitterly. The board voted. They want me to step down as CEO until this scandal blows over. Victoria Sterling is already circling, like a shark, trying to buy out our investors. Damien, Eleanor said gently, sit down. There's something I need to tell you both. The truth about everything, as Eleanor explained the real situation with the inheritance. Sophia watched Damien's face cycle through confusion, anger, and finally understanding. Mean I put Sophia through all of this for nothing? His voice was hollow. Not for nothing, Eleanor said firmly. For love. Though you were both too stubborn to admit it. Damien turned to Sophia, his eyes full of regret. I'm so sorry. I dragged you into this mess because I thought I had no choice. If I'd known you would have done what? Sophia interrupted. Found another way to avoid emotional intimacy? Built higher walls around your heart. The words stung, but they were true. Damien looked away. This was never supposed to be about feelings. But it is, Sophia said, standing up. It has been for weeks. Every laugh we shared, every conversation, every moment when you forgot we were acting, that was real. It can't be real. Look what happened when people found out about the contract. I've destroyed your reputation, your gallery. My gallery is fine, Sophia said quietly. Do you know what happened after the story broke? 23 people called wanting to commission pieces. Apparently being the woman who tamed the tech titan makes me fascinating to collectors. Damien stared at her. What? Eleanor chuckled. The public loves a good love story, even a scandalous one. Especially a scandalous one. But the board can be managed, Eleanor said crisply. I still own 40% of Cross Technologies, and I have something they want more than your resignation. She pulled out her phone and showed them a news alert. Victoria Sterling's company just had a major data breach. Seems someone leaked information about their questionable overseas labor practices. The scandal is already affecting their stock. Price Damien frowned. How did you have been in business for 60 years, darling? Victoria Sterling isn't the only one who knows how to play hardball. Eleanor's smile was sharp. The board will keep you as CEO and this little romantic. Scandal will be forgotten within a month. With the business crisis resolved, Damien and Sophia were left to face the real issue. Their feelings for each other. I need to ask you something, Damien said after Eleanor had left them alone. Setting aside the contract, the money, all of it, would you have chosen me? Would you have fallen for me if we'd met under normal circumstances? Sophia considered the question seriously. I don't know. You're not exactly the type I usually date. Meaning, you're too controlled, too careful. With your emotions, I like passion, spontaneity, men who aren't afraid to be vulnerable. She stepped closer to him. But then I got to know you. I saw how you light up when you talk about sustainable technology. I watched you spend an hour helping your elderly neighbor with her computer. I fell in love with the man behind the CEO. I fell in love with someone who argues with interior designers about lighting and gets excited about pottery glazes from the Ming Dynasty. Damien reached for her hands. I love your passion, your integrity, the way you see beauty everywhere. So what happens now? Sophia asked. Now we do something crazy. Damien dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Make it real, Sophia gasped. Inside was a simple, elegant ring with a sapphire surrounded by diamonds completely. Different from the flashy fake ring she'd been wearing. Sophia Winters, will you marry me? Not for money, not for business, not to solve anyone's problems. Just because I can't imagine my life without you in it? Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she nodded. Yes, but on one condition. Anything. We write our own prenup. One that protects both our hearts as well as our assets. Damien laughed, sliding the ring onto her finger. Deal. 6 months later, the real wedding was nothing like the elaborate society affair people expected. They were married in Sophia's gallery, surrounded by art and the people who mattered most to them. Eleanor officiated, having gotten ordained online specifically for the occasion. Do you, Damien, promise to love Sophia not just when she's perfect, but especially when she's covered in clay and arguing about the proper way to display contemporary sculptures? I do, Damien said, grinning. Do you, Sophia, promise to? Love Damien not just when he's successful, but especially when he's stressed about quarterly reports and needs someone to remind him that life exists outside of spreadsheets. I do, Sophia laughed. Victoria Sterling had sent a wedding gift, a beautiful crystal vase, with a note that read, "Congratulations on winning the game." But Sophia and Damien both knew this wasn't about winning or losing. It was about finding something real in a world full of pretense. James? Morrison had written a follow-up article titled, When Fake Love Becomes Real, a Modern Fairy Tale. It was surprisingly positive, focusing on how their story proved that love could bloom in the most unexpected circumstances, as they danced their first dance as husband and wife, surrounded by friends, family, and the art that had brought them together. Sophia realized something important. Sometimes the best things in life start as lies we tell ourselves. The trick is knowing when to stop pretending and start living the truth. Any regrets? Damien whispered in her ear as they swayed to the music. Sophia looked around at their guests, at Eleanor beaming with pride at the gallery that was now thriving, beyond her wildest dreams, and most importantly, at the man holding her in his arms. Just one, she said with a smile. I wish we'd stopped pretending sooner. We have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. And as the music played and the city lights twinkled beyond the gallery windows, Sophia knew that their greatest masterpiece wasn't any piece of art on the walls. It was the love they'd created from the broken pieces of their carefully guarded hearts.